Good evening and welcome to Addicted to Lacrosse Season 2, Episode 11 for Sunday, March 8th, 2015. I'm Tyler Fitch at Stealth Dragon on Twitter, and with me is Melissa Daphne at Snow Kitten. And Graham is out sick this week, so we're going to step in and fill the role as best we can for our great leader. So far, we figured out how to start the recording, and it's been a little bit of an experience. Our Q&A app is running if you're watching live. Twitter, mention us, as I mentioned, at Stealth Dragon, at Snow Kitten, at Lax Podcast, and we can interact as we're going along. And let's get the show started with this week's news. Lacrosse Magazine, which is kind of a branch of U.S. Lacrosse, the official lacrosse magazine in the U.S., has reports that The Rock and Garrett Billings are far apart on contract negotiations. Jamie Dowick, the owner and GM of The Rock, said, I quote, "I find it hard to believe you'll see Garrett again in a Toronto Rock uniform." And Garrett Billings' response was to tweet a link to that article with the comment, "Sure, ... I don't know if his "sure" was in response to that line or I felt it was more in line of he's asking for the world, and maybe he's coming off an injury and doesn't deserve it. And so since he's asking for so much, maybe he's a little prima donna player right now, so he's saying sure to that. That would be my response. And I personally can't figure out who is more at fault in holding up this process right now. Billings wanting big money coming off an injury, or Dowick not paying somebody a max contract because there's only so much you can pay anyways, and just get the guy on the team and start moving forward. Melissa, what are your thoughts on how this is starting to play out publicly?
I think I'm really bummed that we don't have Graham right now, since obviously this is his team and he is probably a lot closer to hearing some of these rumors and sources. It's very interesting. I think anytime you have a player coming back from an injury, there's always that potential of whether or not they are where they were before. But as we've been talking about, the team is playing so well without Billings, they almost don't need him. So I think they're going to be resistant to really lock in much of a contract because they're doing well without him. So if he is the one holding it up, I don't know that he has a leg to stand on with Toronto right now. But we all know what the rumor mill is. Just because there's rumors of it that he's holding out or something for more money doesn't mean that it's true. It could be they're just not able to come to terms because they don't need him and that they're not sure what he can produce.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if another team doesn't snap him up.
Yeah, I totally believe a team should be making a contract offer to him in effort to force The Rock to either sign him immediately and bench him, or just get this or steal him away. Billings has reportedly said he'll only play in Vancouver or Toronto, and apparently Toronto is closing the door on that, which leaves Vancouver. Your Mammoth are definitely a team that could use a player like him to set that right side of the offense. Westervelt's great. Drew Westervelt's great. Sean Pollock produces, and I couldn't name your third righty at this moment, so that makes it seem like Garrett Billings would be very helpful.
Yeah, I can't think of who's on the right either.
Oh, it's a new kid because they released Iannucci. So after they released Ethan, they brought in some.
Mark, then.
Yeah, I would take Garrett Billings over a rookie. That's just me.
Yeah, but especially on the Mammoth, I don't know. You have too much veteran leadership, and you're going to have just as many issues as if you have too many rookies.
Yep.
So I don't know that he would fit in with the Colorado offense. But if it's been stated he will only play for those two teams, then he's really kicking the leg that what little he has to stand out from under him.
Yep. Graham put in some notes here that there's reportedly a rumor of Kevin Crowley and a first-round pick from New England to Toronto to get Garrett Billings. And the only interesting part of that is New England's as far away from Billings' Langley hometown as he could get. but that's a pretty good offer. There's not a lot of spots out there that have good picks. Like Vancouver has no first-round picks to be offering at this time until 2020, which you're not going to trade out draft picks that far out. Let's see what else. Yep, so no draft picks for this to stealth the pick. The Swarm also have numerous first-round picks. They could be in the running. They, depending on how injured Callum Crawford is, could definitely use a quarterback. And even if Callum Crawford's not injured, they could use Garrett Billings. But their MO is never to kind of bring in the high-priced superstar. They always let people go before they get to that point. So, but I don't know. If he's healthy, he's as good as you could have out there quarterback in your offense. And the last bit is the league announced that the trade deadline for the 2015 season is March 31st. So if any trade's going to happen, it'll be in the next 23 days. All right.
That's a big thought right there, is with that coming up, do we expect to see any trades coming up? A lot of the teams are struggling this season in a way we haven't seen previously.
Yeah, based on the record, I see Calgary making some sort of move, but then looking at the individuals on the roster, like who do they need to give up? Where do they need to improve? And it's not a clear spot. New England could probably use a little bit of defensive help. I think offensively they have a decent lineup and they put up enough goals, but defensively in transition, I think is where they're having trouble. So, yeah, there are people who could afford to make moves to try and tinker and improve where they are 2 months into the season, but people generally don't. There's not a lot of trade activity in the league in the NLL every year. In the summer there is, but not or at the draft time, but not in the regular season. All right, moving on to our games. 2 games this weekend, one Friday evening and one Sunday afternoon matinee up in Edmonton. Friday night we had Toronto visiting Colorado. Only the 5th time these teams have played is what I read, and the 3rd time the Rock have been in Colorado. Melissa, your home team. Let's hear your thoughts on the game.
As bad as it went exactly how I expected. There's definitely a lot of speculation, superstition, whatever you want to call it. The Mammoth have not won a single one of their blackout night games, so that's why they went away from it for a little while, and they had the ribbon jerseys, and this was the first year they went back to the blackout jerseys, which were really cool. But yet again,
the dark aspect to them this year.
They look like they would look really cool under a black light because they have that neon green outlining. And their logo works perfectly. So I know fans, when we had the first year where it was almost just a classic style with just Colorado across the front, the people were like, why didn't you just take the logo and kind of black it out? That would have been really cool. And so they finally did that. And it looked cool. I don't know how the auction did. Unfortunately, I was unable to make the game because I'm unable to make any of the Friday games, which we have 4 of. So I watched, just like a lot of people on the stream, which Universal had issues with again. It was, I'd say the first half was good and close, and the second half, the Mammoth just really didn't show up. One thing I was really happy to see was there was a goal in the second that Eli McLaughlin, he shot it, or maybe one of the other players had shot it, I don't remember now, but it missed, it hit the back wall, went right to him in his stick, and he shot it right in for a goal, and it was just beautiful. And it was such a highlight to one of the issues that I'm constantly getting frustrated and complaining about, and maybe it's because I've never played, so I don't know what some of those dynamics are, but it seems like too often the Mammoth offense shoots and they never fight for the loose ball. They don't fight for the rebound. They just kind of turn their back and leave the floor, and it's like, wait a sec, we still got 15 seconds or 8 seconds left in the shot clock. Why aren't you at least fighting for it? So the fact that he never took his eyes off the ball, he watched it, resulted in the goal. Adam Jones is really good about that. But there's definitely a couple offensive players that it seems like they shoot and they just immediately turn and run, and it's like, wait a sec, we still got 20 seconds. What are you doing? And so it's definitely frustration on that aspect. And like I said, maybe it's because I've never played. I don't know that that's what the coach has told them to do. But from a fan perspective, it's very, very frustrating to see them not fight for rebounds and loose balls. Granted, Toronto was doing a very good job of keeping them from getting good rebounds, too. Nick Rose was definitely hanging on to quite a few of those. But both goalies had a strong game. It definitely fell apart in the second half, but I think they actually put in Bouquet towards the end there when I think they realized it was kind of out of. Yeah, Bouquet played for almost 7 minutes, so I think they realized, you know what, we're not going to come back, and they put him in. Kind of makes you wonder.
Yeah,
Although
you got to give
he
him
only.
experience at some point. And if this is the way it has to come, then it's a bummer. But get the kid some minutes.
Well, and it does make you wonder if they're starting to regret not holding on to our former backup, who was the team darling for a season. Unfortunately, that happens a little too much.
Yeah,
There was definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think Belanger's only played in a similar situation out in New England so far this year, and so yeah, having a known backup is better. I think Belanger was known, but now you're going to see a little bit of what you have with the other guy.
Well, and I think for me, the frustration with Belanger is he had this really great season, and they were talking about him like, oh, yeah, he's going to be our long term goalie. He has one bad season, and it was like, you don't exist. It's like, okay. Even some of the best goalies in the league, Watson and Eliak and all these guys, they've had a bad season or two. So maybe it was just a little rust. It's like, why wouldn't you at least stuck it out? But, I wasn't at the tryouts, so maybe Bouquet played that much better.
Yeah,
But
you
from
need
what I've
to
seen,
give goalies a chance to have their ups and downs. I think mentally it's a very fragile position to be in. And if the guy has an off season and you're like, that's it, we're done, here's the next young kid, he never gets to mature and become an older, greater goalie like a Cosmo or a Watson or Dietrich, not Pat Campbell. Who's the GM now at Rochester? Anyways, Hall of Famer. I'm blanking, but those goalies grow old because they got all the chances and they had downtimes and they stuck with them.
yeah, anymore with the goalies, it kind of reminds me of the Oakland Raiders with their quarterback situation. Every season you're having another new goalie or two or even three. So I don't think they have the stability there. I'm glad to see that Ward's there, but Ward's struggling this season. Whether that's truly Ward struggling or that's because the defense isn't doing very good or the offense isn't doing very good, because it doesn't matter if he stops, only lets in 2 goals if we can't even score 3. So there's a lot of things there, and there is that concern coming up that it's like, okay, are we going to have yet another goalie turnover next season because they're just not going to have the faith in him and just be like, yeah, no, next. Because that seems to be the mentality. Almost every season they seem to draft a goalie or two. So, don't know.
You need to change that. It's not working. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result.
Indeed.
Graham put some notes in on this game. He said that he likes this Rock team as maybe the best since 2005, and that includes the 2011 championship team. I agree. I think they're stacked top to bottom. Defense, transition, offense, and goalies, they are a complete team. They've won a couple close games. They had the OT game against Edmonton a week ago, and they blow teams out when they need to, which is a great skill to have. And don't let the teams battle back and get close. And Graham also really loves Nick Rose's play in goal. He had John Grant Jr. on the doorstep with time to do a couple fakes, and he still got the save. And you don't see that often happening to John Grant Jr.
Yeah, Rose was looking really good. Toronto looked just solid in the second. So I think whatever rust they had to begin the season with, they've definitely shaken it off and have come together and are really clicking, which going back to talking about Garrett Billings, okay, you have this team that's working. Do you even really want to risk messing with that right now? So even if he is the best player or the best player you've had, because we know he has had a huge impact. You know, he's definitely was in the race for the points award last season. So we know he can produce. But if everything's clicking, do you want to mess with that formula? So
No, you want to win. It's what they're there for. It's a tricky spot to be in. I don't remember any superstar coming back and being like, yeah, we don't really need you. Okay, let's see. I did not get to watch this game as it is. I was out Friday evening, and the universalsports.com website says the game is still live, so there's no replay to watch because it's still happening. Well, that's been frustrating. Another bad user experience from the NLL and their new video services. I tweeted at them a few times, and nothing changed. Like, I alerted to them, like, I think early Saturday morning. It's like, hey, that thing still says it's live. We could switch that, and no responses, nothing. It's a bummer.
yeah, I tweeted out when the game was actually starting because the link that pulled up when you click play, it would spool for a few seconds and then it would say, error, this video is not available right now. Try again momentarily. So do that a few times and it's like nothing was working. And finally, I tried a different link to it and it worked. But the NLL wasn't responsive before the game either.
Okay, so that brings us to Saturday with no games and no replays from Friday night's game to watch. We get to Sunday, and today there was a Battle of Alberta, I think round 2 for this season, with Calgary going to Edmonton, and it was a super exciting game. I had a great deal of fun watching it. Calgary goes to overtime after being down 3-0 in the first 5-6 minutes, and gets the win 12-11 over Edmonton. And now Calgary is 2-6 or 2-7, but they've got 2 wins now, and they're only 2 games out of first place. Edmonton falls to 4-4, and now the Stealth are tied for first place. Yay, Stealth! They are both 4-4, though Edmonton would have a head-to-head tiebreaker, having already beat the Stealth once. But we're 8 games, halfway through the season. Next game will be halfway through the season, but all the teams in the East seem to be picking on the West significantly, as the best team in the West is 4-4 at this point. Next weekend we do get a great matchup with the Stealth and Edmonton playing each other, and it'll be kind of a battle for first place, and we'll see how that goes. But getting a little ahead of ourselves, let's talk about this game. Melissa, were you able to see any of this afternoon?
Nope, unfortunately, I was working all day, so I did not. And this one was only available on NL Live anyway, so I did not pay for the package.
Yep. All right. Graham gave us some notes, as I think while he's coughing and sneezing, he doesn't want to talk so much. He's able to watch it and type. So let's see. He feels that the Roughnecks found the Mike Poulin they were expecting. He had a very rough start, 3 goals in the first 7 shots. Pulled himself for 30 seconds, and then hit the TV timeout, and after the first 5-minute break, and he returned after that. And I think the defense of the Roughnecks really responded and started limiting the easy looks that Edmonton had in the first 5 minutes. But Poulin also started making more saves, and it was a great effort by him. Calgary never quit, is what Graham says. That's right. They were down 3-1, I think, and nothing looked like it was going their way. And they could have just been like, all right, we're on the road. It's Sunday. We got to pack it in. But no, absolutely not. No quit at all. Individually, this I think is best shown by Sean Evans. He'll do that chasing the shots thing that you're talking about, Melissa. He'll go after a loose ball on the end. He'll harass somebody clearing to slow them down and try to get an 8-second call. Late in the fourth quarter, he was up at midfield and was able to knock down somebody's clearing pass. And he's not a big guy. He's just little 5'8", maybe 5'6". He's tiny, Sean Evans. But he was Like, I don't care how big a rush defender is. I'm going to try and stop that pass, and he did, and get Calgary more opportunities to get it, to stay in that game. It's really incredible effort from a guy. His team had one win, and he acted as if he was leading a team that was the best in the league. He's like, follow me, but he's on the other side of that. It's like, I'm on the worst team in the league record-wise, but I'm not quitting, and I don't want my team to quit around me. Quite the effort there. Graham also said Calgary winning against Edmonton without Jeff Snyder or Dane Dobby should give Roughnecks some confidence. Is their season turning around? It's interesting. I mean, no Jeff Snyder today. Dan McRae was also out. He was a healthy scratch. He's been pretty consistently in their lineup for the last couple of years. And Dane was out. Some key players out, and they still won the game. I thought this maybe would happen last weekend in Rochester. And to have Dane Dobie, I say Dobby because of Harry Potter, but it happens. Dane Dobie out, and they won a game. It's like, woo, that could be like all sort of drama around. You lose the leading goal scorer, but you can still put a win together. Like, I would
actually say that adds more drama because they haven't been able to win, and they have a leading scorer out, and all of a sudden they win.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe there is some sort of thing that could be read into that, like the offensive clicked better with him out because he wasn't, I don't know, going all Lewis Ratcliffe and taking shots on them, but that's something to think about. It's very interesting to me, and we'll see how the week plays out. He'll return from his 2-game suspension. Jeff Snyder, imagine, was injured. He doesn't miss games. He missed some games last year and he's injured, but they had a roughneck lineup that was able to beat what is considered the best team in the West right now. So it's starting to turn around for the Roughnecks, I think. I thought it was a great game to watch. Tons of fun to see the up and down action. There was times where it was just fast-paced back and forth, lots of transition, pushing it. Edmonton needs to learn how to step on the gas. I mean, they took that first 5 minutes, and they thought they probably had that game in the bag. And they're like, all right, we'll just cruise from here. But the Roughnecks adjusted, took away the opportunities that Edmonton was getting, and that allowed the Roughnecks to get back in the game instead of Edmonton saying, all right, we've been getting these chances, instead of making the chances. So they failed to make their chances and put the game away. And they kind of deserved to lose this game in that sense. In my mind, if you can't get a big lead early and put it away, that'll happen. Okay. Oh, and Jason Greger calling the game for Edmonton. He's based out of Edmonton. He's called a game in Vancouver and in Calgary so far this year when they were doing TSN games, but he's back home in Edmonton and called the game today. And he's fun. Said it before, but when he does the score, it's perfect.
But going back to what you were just saying about you have to get that big lead and hang on to it, we've seen, I think, several times this season that no matter how big your lead is, it really is not safe until that final bell goes. So if you're not waiting, really keeping it in high gear that whole game, you risk not winning even if you were up 9 goals. I mean, we saw some pretty crazy fourth quarter comebacks.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with winning a game big. You're pros. It's what you're paid to do. If you can annihilate a team, go annihilate a team. That's what I tell my kids when I'm coaching. It's just like if we get up an early lead, it's okay to win by a lot. You don't feel bad about it. Just go win the game. All right, so that covers our games for the week. Going and looking at our predictions. Last week, we were all 1-1. We all picked Edmonton to win today, and they did not. Last week it's kind of screwy because that's today. But we all picked Edmonton to win, and they did not. And Toronto handled Colorado maybe more than we thought they would, but they got the job done. So our even picks, nobody pulls away from each other. We all just advance one game in each of the win-loss columns. Graham's now 18 and 21. I am 17 and 22, and Melissa leads us still at 19 and 20. 6 games coming up this weekend after a kind of a light NLL weekend. I will read Graham's picks last. Melissa, would you like to go first? You want me to go with our picks?
Well, since I just very quickly filled mine in, I can go. So Toronto and Buffalo are having a barn to barn, which I think is always fun. I like it better when they do the barn to barn versus a team playing 2 games against 2 different opponents. I know the coaches will say that it doesn't matter, but to me, I don't see how you couldn't when you have one team facing just issues that the other team doesn't. So I do like it when it is just a true barn to barn. So I actually think Toronto's going to take both of them. I expect the first game to be a nice close one, but we know Buffalo has issues staying out of the penalty box, and I think penalties will probably kill them the second night because they're probably going to be a little more wound up from the first night. With New England, Minnesota, that was a really tough one because both teams aren't playing very well right now. New England started off so strong, and we haven't seen much out of them lately. Minnesota has had moments of greatness and moments of looking like a rookie team. So this one is almost let's flip a coin. So I'm going with Minnesota, but I would be just as happy putting New England there. I don't have I don't have a lot of faith in either team right now, which is a shame because New England was so exciting those first few games, and you just had such high hopes. And now it seems like they're playing like the team everyone was expecting. So it would be really nice to see them the second half of the season actually get back to what they were doing. Let's see, with Vancouver and Edmonton, I just you got to kind of go with Edmonton right now until they prove otherwise. Just like Colorado, Vancouver's playing so up and down. I'll go with a more consistent team. And with Rochester and Calgary, that one is a tough one because I think Calgary coming off the win over Edmonton is definitely going to give them some strength going into this game, but they're still playing inconsistent. We don't know which Calgary team is going to come out. So I'm going to go with Rochester on that one, but it will be interesting. Knowing how they played the past couple games, they might actually be starting to turn it around finally. For Minnesota and Colorado, I think Colorado will beat Minnesota most times. The fact that Minnesota's playing the night before, I think that actually will give Colorado the advantage. And that is going to be a Sunday afternoon game, I believe. So that should be interesting. So yeah, I'll go with Colorado. What about you, Tyler?
All right. So Toronto and Buffalo home and home series. Toronto, they've entered Edmonton mode from last season where you have no reason to pick against them. They're winning close games, they're winning blowouts. I have complete faith in what they have going on right now. So I feel comfortable picking them for both games. Sometimes I try to find some sort of split happening, but I don't see it. New England at Minnesota, I agree with you. This was absolutely the hardest pick of the week. Kind of the opposite of the hard pick we had a week ago with Toronto at Edmonton. Like, ooh, kind of 2 first-place teams. What's going to happen? Here, it's 2 teams that you have no clue what they're doing. Honestly, they both have moments, and then they both have good moments, and they both have terrible moments. Is how it works out. And I've seen more terrible moments from Minnesota. They've had 2 bad blowouts, so I don't have a ton of faith in them. I don't know if Callum Crawford's back on offense, and if he's not, then I have absolutely no reason to pick Minnesota. And even without knowing that, I still pick New England. So that's who I have, New England Black Wolves winning that game. Vancouver at Edmonton, battle for first place. The stealth look really good with Corey Small in the lineup now. They seem to be meshing well. But Edmonton's great, and they'll be at Edmonton, so I see them winning this game and kind of locking in first place in the West for right now. Rochester at Calgary. Should be a close game. Calgary seems to be one-goal games more often than not. And when you get in a one-goal game, Calgary does okay, but then Rochester does better when they have Cody Jamieson. And they did it a couple weeks ago at Rochester, and I think we're getting the same situation, and I would again pick Rochester to win in Calgary. Last game is Minnesota at Colorado. Play tired. None of those things are good for Minnesota's situation. So I pick. I pick Colorado to win that game. I guess maybe they don't get a day ahead in case New England and Minnesota play Friday and this game's on Sunday. Maybe they'll get a day there, but still, I have Colorado winning this game so that they can get a good outing for the home fans. They've been a little inconsistent on there, and some of the fans complain, and they'll have nothing to complain about after this game, right, Melissa?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got Gray made his picks. He picked Toronto for winning both games, New England over Minnesota. He has Edmonton beating Vancouver. His pick varied from us here, where he has Calgary beating the visiting Rochester Nighthawks, and then Colorado over Minnesota. So out of the 18 possible picks, let's see, you picked Minnesota different than us, and Graham picked Calgary different. So we have a little bit of variety happening. We won't all be tied. Probably, yeah, we can't all be tied in this coming weekend. Let's see how this goes. All right, that wraps it up for us. We've got our reviews, our predictions, and so please check out our website, addictedtolacrosse.com, for old shows that you may have missed as you learn about us. Email us, feedback at addictedlacrosse.com. Facebook, we are facebook.com/laxpodcast, LAX podcast. Twitter, we are at Lax Podcast, again, LAX Podcast. This has been another episode of Addicted Lacrosse. For Melissa and the sick Graham, I'm Tyler. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.